Welcome to Special Investigator, a podcast devoted to classic true crime murder stories. And today, I'm introducing Wild Card Wednesday. Yesterday, 3 people contacted me after watching the introduction to the Special Investigator podcast. They wanted to know about the song, I'm a Tough Guy. Yes, I wrote the lyrics and the music. I played keyboards and sang the song. My favorite son, Ed, played rhythm guitar, and the favorite grandson, Zach, played lead guitar, and I think he was only 15 years old. In case you missed it, I'm going to tack it on the end of today's show. Now, a quick hit on a contemporary true crime taking place in the last few days. Around 5:50 on Saturday afternoon in Boston, an off-duty cop was sitting inside a Chick-fil-A on Copley Square along Boylston Street. Suddenly, he watched 2 people come sprinting into the restaurant, trying to get away from a man who was chasing them with a knife, threatening to stab them. The cop stood up, identified himself to the knife wielder, and asked him to drop the weapon. But the dude refused to comply, so the cop shot him. And an ER doctor pronounced the attacker dead in a nearby hospital. Good work by the cop, right? I mean, he saved 2 people from getting stabbed, possibly killed. But the mayor of Boston and a couple of her cronies seemed to disagree. Instead, they expressed sympathy to the attacker. Check it out.
My condolences and all of our thoughts are with the family of the individual whose life has been lost.
I gotta tell you, I feel bad for the residents of Boston. Mayor Wu and her flunkies are shit pieces. I'm thinking she's a Soros plant, and they're all on the take. And I feel bad for the residents of Boston. I already said that. There it is again. Now, let's go into the Wayback Machine for the first true crime murder case I ever paid attention to. Let's go all the way back to December 28th, 1959. 3 days after Christmas. Many of you, I bet, weren't born yet. But I was in my junior year in high school, and that's when Mary Ann Mitchell disappeared. She was also a junior in high school. She lived in the Manayunk section of Philly, and like most of us juniors, she was 16, which made my classmates and I pay attention to what was happening. It was like something like this could happen to any one of us. And I believe, although this is hard to believe these days, she was the only missing female teenager in Philadelphia at that time. That night, she went to a movie with a friend. They stopped at a diner for something to eat. She and her friend went their separate ways. She went outside and stood on the corner, waiting for a bus, heading home, but she was never seen again. Not alive, that is. This was big news for 2 days. And then someone found her body alongside the road in a muddy gully in Fairmount Park. She was nude, with lipstick markings written on her abdomen, written with her own lipstick. This was even bigger news. We were shocked. We'd never heard of anything like that before, not in our peaceful world. It took the police about a week to track down her killer. They arrested him on January 7th, 1960. He was a handyman at a motel near the King of Prussia Mall. His name was Elmo Smith. He'd already stolen a car that night. And some 14 years earlier, in January of 1946, Elmo Smith sexually assaulted 2 women, and he served 10 years of a 10 to 20-year sentence. He was released on parole, but sent back to prison after he violated his parole. Then he was paroled again on October 1st, 1958. To paraphrase the killer, he saw the girl standing on the corner in the rain, stopped and offered her a ride. She got in. He drove to a secluded spot, attacked her, raped her, then crushed her skull with a hammer, hitting her 5 times. She was still alive and begging to be taken home when he dumped her body into a ravine. A hiker spotted her body 2 days later. Evidence techs found blood stains on the backseat of the stolen car. They also found a bumper jack inside the trunk. The jack was covered with dried blood and 3 strands of auburn hair. Police chemists tested the hairs as being similar to Mary Ann's hair, and they tested the blood stains, type A blood, which was the same as Mary Ann's blood type. Elmo Smith confessed. He stood trial 8 months later. The jury only took 90 minutes to convict him, and 2 days later, the jury sentenced him to be put to death. He was sentenced to serve his time at the Eastern State Penitentiary in the Fairmount section of Philly. That edifice still stands, now as a museum and a tourist attraction. Then, after several months of appeals, Elmo Smith remained calm and cool as attendants strapped him in the electric chair, and it took just 2 minutes for old Sparky to execute Elmo. Official time of death was 9:04 p.m. On Friday, I'll give you a preview of our first true murder story, which will be released next Monday. And right now, here's a replay of I'm a Tough Guy.
I said, back off, Jack, off, or I'll punch you in your face. He smiled at me, apologized, back off with style and grace. I figured it was all over now, but that was not the case. He snatched an empty beer bottle, started clobbering me. The blood, well, it filled my eyes so much I couldn't see. But this was far from over, man. He'd beat his destiny. With a flurry of lefts, I told him, well, not the fuck with me. I'm a tough guy. Fuck with me and you'll regret it. I'm a tough guy. Fuck with me, you'll never forget it. I'm a tough guy. Fuck with me and you'll regret it. I'm a tough guy. Come on, dude. Step right up and get it. I'm a tough guy. You know where that came from. Here we go. Round and round. I like you back to Never Never Land. Put you in the same grave with Michael Jackson. I'll chew you up. I'm a tough guy.
Hope you enjoyed our first Wildcard Wednesday, and that's it for today. Until next time. And that's a wrap.